Ladies, gentlemen, and children of all ages, the High Priest of Israel.
Baruch, Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam, Hatov Me'hatev. Let's say it together. No, slide. Blessed are you, Lord our God, King of the universe, who is good and does good. So I come looking like a priest, or a high priest maybe. As the children's minister, you get to do lots of fun things, keeping people excited about all the fun things that you can do, but there's a lot of history that goes with that. One of them is that prayer. So one of the things about prayer and Judaism and Israel was that they prayed all the time. We hear Paul talking about pray all the time. This is one of them. When good news, as you see at the top, prayer for good news and positive experience. So that's exactly what I need this morning. I need to be able to tell you the good news and have a very positive experience, and hoping the kids will have a positive experience with a little bit of noise. But I'm going to take this off because this is a bit warm. But one of the things that I want to flip to the next slide, and we can see things that we are not going to talk about today. Because we're not going to talk about all the parts of my outfit that are missing. We're not going to talk about how it looks a little bit different than all of the other high priest things that you've seen. And it may have been on Indiana Jones, or it could have been just on a piece of paper or some documentary. We're not going to talk about the fact that in 70 AD was the last time that anybody really wore the high priest's outfit as a high priest, because since then, there has not been one. We're not going to talk about all these layers. As you can see, this is like I'm still taking these off and trying not to knock my microphone off. But we're also not going to talk about the hat that has holiness to the Lord written on it, or the connections with Aaron or Moses, or the special restrictions that go with it, or the Sadducees or the Pharisees. That's not what we're talking about. Today we're talking about the high priest, the one that's the most important to us. We just sung about it in almost every one of our songs today. Firm foundation, the joy of the Lord, the merciful Savior. It's all about Jesus, the high priest forever. And so this is a little tune that I know from the time that I was a teenager. So Nathan, you can teach all of our teens this song maybe, I don't know. Steve may remember it from when he was a youth minister. But it goes like this: high priest forever, righteous interceder, king of my life. Perfect sacrifice. You put your law in my heart and wrote it on my mind. You remember my sin no more. And it wasn't about the guy that wore the outfit. It was about Jesus, who is our high priest forever. He's the one that comes and makes that connection between us and God. He's the one that made the perfect sacrifice. Because you know that the Jews always had to keep going back and making sacrifices just to try to atone for their sin. And you know, like next week is Yom Kippur. You know, look at the calendar in the hallway. This week is the New Year. Next week is the Day of Atonement. So very timely outfit, I guess. But Jesus made that perfect sacrifice for us. And so when we start looking through Scripture, and the other thing that it said there is he wrote the law. I should probably read it because I will forget it. I'm not singing the tune. You put your law in my heart and you wrote it on my mind. So the important thing is that you had all these scrolls, you had all these things that were there in front of people, always having to read it and trying to remember it. But it was not here and here. It was here. Jesus changed that. Jesus said, it's going here. It's not about words written on a page. It's about what's in your heart. And so all through Jesus' whole 3 years of ministry, that's what we see. So up there on the screen, you see this thing. So one of the things we like to do in kids worship, you already saw them quoting the memory verse. So this is what we're going to do. Anytime you see a slide that looks like this, we will say it together. So let's try. I'll say it once, and then that way you guys can know what the words are. Jesus, the great high priest. Let's say it together. Jesus, the great high priest. So in Hebrews it says this, therefore, since we have a great high priest who has ascended into heaven, Jesus the Son of God, let us hold firmly to the faith we profess. For we do not have a high priest who is unable to sympathize with our weakness, but we have one who has been tempted in every way, just as we are, yet did not sin. So kids, that's a little foreshadowing that what will happen in class. You will talk about Jesus' temptation. The next verse goes on and it says, let us then approach God's throne of grace with confidence so that we may receive two things. Receive mercy, remember my sin no more, and find grace to help us in our time of need. And I think that is the last page. So the thing about this is that it's not only that we receive Jesus coming, part of his coming is this completing of everything that was before him. All the way from back in Adam, and God gave this prophecy that you're going to step on the serpent's head, you'll bite the serpent, or you'll bite his foot and step on the serpent's head. To Moses, to Aaron, every one of these pieces all connect to Jesus, all throughout the whole time. Jesus is completing something from way back in the past, all the way up to current day, today. It's connecting to us, and you heard it, because he says, us approach God's throne of grace with confidence. He didn't say let them, he didn't say let him, he didn't say let you, he said let us. So all of us are in connection to this. Remember what Dave talked about last week. Dave's Operation Everybody, the whole theme for this month or so. It's all about everybody doing their part. No matter if your part is standing at the front door greeting, whether it's the people that's poorly not getting to see the costume and hanging out in the nursery today, or it's sitting on the front pew like Nathan. So everybody has a part and everybody has a role, whether it's big, little, gigantic. Just like with Dave's surgery, the person that greeted him at the door, the person that had prepped him for the surgery, the person that did the surgery, the person that greeted him for the physical therapy. Everybody has a role in making him be able to be back up here last week preaching to you. It's all important because we forgot one important thing. Operation Everybody. Everybody? Operation Everybody. So everybody is part of this operation that's going on. And so it's like, well, what's with this high priest? Jesus is a high priest. How does this connect to me? We're going to God's throne and we sort of need Jesus. So let's flip over to the passage that Rosaline read for us. 1 Peter 2, and we're just going to look at 4 and 5 and then 9 through 12. As you come to him, the living stone rejected by humans, but chosen by God and precious to him, you also, like living stones, are being built up into a spiritual house to be a holy priesthood, offering spiritual sacrifices acceptable to God through Jesus Christ. But you are a chosen people, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, God's special possession, that you may declare praises to him who has been called out of darkness into the wonderful light. Once you were not a people, but now you are a people of God. So this changes everything. This high priest, who was he a high priest for? Was he for most of us? No. Most of us probably fall into the side of the Gentile side, the non-Jewish side. He was for the Jews only. This new high priest forever, he is for all of us. Once you had not received mercy, but now you have, we just read this, didn't we? Received mercy. Dear friends, I urge you as foreigners and exiles to abstain from your sinful desires, which wage a war against your soul. Live such good lives among the pagans that though they accuse you of doing wrong, they may see your good deeds and glorify God on that day he visits us. This powerful picture of how God changes everything. Jesus changes everything from the beginning to the end. He's that intermediator, the person in between everything. And this is how we get in contact with him. This is how it becomes Operation Everybody. This is this great high priest that we have. So, here's another one. Priesthood of all believers. Let's say it together. Priesthood of all believers. So, does that include Nathan? Does that include Ross? What about Kirk? What about Brad over there? What about Effie, who's been saying yeah every time? So, this is the situation. It includes all of us. It's not just saying, hey, only this special group. You know how the Jewish one was, right? We know that Levi's family, and only one of the families of Levi, which was Aaron's family, got to be the high priest. And only Aaron's family actually got to be the priests. So at the beginning, there was only like 3 or 4 of them. So it's like, then it sort of got bigger. The Levites had jobs to take care of the tabernacle and the temple, but they were not the ones doing the sacrifices. They may have got to lead the sheep. That's the one thing I forgot, that we are people that God has chosen to be his priest. And so, we want to turn one more passage real fast, and it will hopefully seal this all together. Make sure I'm on the right slide. And this is from 1 Peter as well, and this jumps to chapter 4, verses 7 through 11. It says this: the end of all things is near. Therefore be alert and sober-minded so that you may pray. Above all, love each other deeply. Should I say it one more time? Love each other deeply. Because love covers a multitude of sin. Who has sin? Anybody? Any sinners? Okay. So just know, if you love deeply, it covers it. Because Jesus came with the love that covers us. And that's what he asks. That heart, writing it on our heart, writing it on our minds, it's changing. It's not these words necessarily. It helps guide, but it changes who we are. So then goes on and says, offer hospitality to one another without grumbling. Who likes to grumble? Any grumblers in the room? So offer hospitality to one another without grumbling. Each of you should use whatever gift you have received. Okay, didn't we just hear that like in both of those other 2 passages about grace? The one thing I forgot to mention about grace and mercy. Who knows what mercy is? Anybody? Mercy? Evie, what's mercy? Yeah, I know what it is, but saying it in words is the hard part. Mercy is when you did something wrong. Anybody do anything wrong ever? Okay, so Evie, she knows what that is. And then somebody comes and says, it's okay. Evie, does your mom say that a lot? Or she say, it's not okay. So this is the thing, that God changes it. So this is that washing those sins away. He washes those sins away and he gives us mercy. And he says, it's all right that you are not very good, because I have been good for you. The other one, though, is this picture of grace. So grace, usually there are parallels with each other, but they're a little different. So one is sort of cleaning something or fixing something that's been messed up. The other is handing out a present. I should have brought a present and just gave it to somebody. It would have been an empty box, and Evie would have been heavy tearing it apart. And so But the thing is that this present that he's giving us is almost anytime you see the word grace, it's a lot of times it combines it with gift, grace gift, or spiritual gifts, as we talked about them a lot. And this is what's going on right here. He says, use whatever gift you have received. He's just changing the words from verb to nouns and switching all of these around in both of the passages. To serve others as faithful stewards of God's, here it is, grace in various forms. If anyone speaks, they should do so as one who speaks the very words of God. If anyone serves, they should do so with the strength God provides, so that, here it is again, that in all things God may be praised through Jeff McGlawn. No, not Jeff McGlawn. Through Ross Brown. No. Through Matthew Bardowell. No. Through the great high priest, Jesus Christ. To him be the glory and power forever and ever. Amen. So this picture that we have here is running through the book of Hebrews, running through the book of 1 Peter, and it should be running through our lives. So, I know we haven't got one more yet, so let's jump up here and get one more thing to say together. One more thing, important thing. So it's use your gifts. So let's say it one more time. Use your gifts. So is there anybody that's not talking to? Does somebody not say it? Anybody not say it? Because you need to say it now by yourself so that you can use your gifts. Because it's very important that you use your gifts. And you say, well, I don't really have any, so I'm just going to stand in the back and do nothing. Well, you just told me that we should use your gifts. Everybody else around you told you should use your gift. So it means you must have one. So the question then is, how do I know what gift God gave me? And that's where Nathan and me and the elders are happy to help you find it. You may say, I don't want to wash dishes. I don't want to work in the nursery. Or you may say, I love the nursery. Yeah, Evie being one of those people because she goes in there almost every week to help in the nursery. And we are so happy for that. So this is one of those things that there is something that you can do to help God's glory. To let God you be the hand of God. So in closing, I'm going to throw one more slide up there. Because we don't want the kids to have to sit here for too long, and I'm sure Brett already has his clock back there timing me too, like everybody else. So this is all of our things together. And you don't have to read this one, I'll read it for you. It says, Operation Everybody involves Jesus, the great high priest, making us into a priesthood of all believers to use the gifts God has given. All of our things combine together to make one thing. They all stand alone, but they are all the same. This is the importance of where we stand. Whether you're standing here as the person at the front door with Joyce on that mission committee, or you're standing in my missions committee and talking about the work in France and the Bethlehem monastery that they are trying to bring about, or whether it's you're hanging out with Nathan in the canteen or the cafe and working with him to help the teenagers. Every place, wherever you can be, it could just be being the people that are on the camera right now, sitting at home, praying for us. Because all of this is wrapped in prayer. That is where our lives live. We are spiritual beings. We are part of God's priesthood. And so, as we work to become Operation Everybody, let us all do our part. Whether it's being a priest here cutting the sheep up, or anywhere else all along the way. Let's give God praise.